Rich kids threw new girls' lunch in trash daily, until her lawyer parents filed lawsuit. From the very first day she stepped into Crestview Academy, 15-year-old Avery Solberg learned one brutal truth: kindness was rare, and cruelty did not always come from the shadows. It often came laughing, holding iced coffees, wearing designer shoes, and walking with the confidence of kids who believed the world belonged to them. The cafeteria lights glowed warm and bright that Tuesday afternoon, but nothing about that day felt warm to her. In less than 7 minutes, her carefully packed lunch, her mother's homemade pasta, her favorite strawberries, and the chocolate chip cookie she saved from breakfast, was ripped from her tray, tossed into a trash can, and buried under ketchup-stained napkins. She stood frozen, the room spinning, the laughter echoing like something sharp. Nobody helped. Nobody spoke. The smell of wasted food mixed with humiliation, and for the first time in a long time, Avery felt truly, painfully small. If you believe in kindness, courage, and second chances, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps us spread more stories that restore faith in humanity. Avery had moved to Crestview only 2 weeks earlier after her parents, Silas and Brianna Solberg, both civil rights attorneys, decided to leave the noise of the city for a quieter suburban life. For years they had fought courtroom battles, standing up for people who had been silenced or wronged, but nothing had prepared them for the silent battle their daughter was now fighting alone. At school, Avery felt invisible until the moment she wasn't, until the moment the rich kids decided she was entertainment. The ringleader was Marcellus Drake, a tall, athletic boy whose father owned half the real estate on the east side of town. He walked with that effortless arrogance of someone who had never heard the word no without it bending in his favor. Each day, Marcellus and his 2 friends, Celia Vardos and Holt Renner, found new ways to torment Avery. They didn't use punches, they used humiliation, the kind that crawled under the skin and stayed there. The first time they threw her lunch away, Avery tried to convince herself it was an accident. The second time, she told herself they were just playing around. But by the 4th day, it became a ritual, a show, something they looked forward to. They would wait behind the corner of the cafeteria like predators who had found joy in the routine. Sometimes Celia would smile cruelly as she dumped Avery's food, whispering, "Oops. Guess you don't need calories when you dress like that. Consider it charity." Avery started eating in the library, hoping silence would swallow her shame. But every time she opened her backpack, the aroma of untouched meals felt like a reminder that she was hiding again. She wasn't weak, but she felt like she was. The final blow came on a bright Wednesday afternoon when Marcellus grabbed her lunchbox, her favorite purple one, decorated with planet stickers she had collected since she was 10, and threw it straight into a cafeteria sink filled with murky water. The laughter erupted like fireworks, and Avery felt something inside her crack quietly, like breaking glass under a thick carpet. Walking home that day felt like dragging her own shadow. She kept her tears tucked away until she entered her house. Her parents looked up from their laptops at the dining table, smiling, asking how her day was. For a moment she wanted to lie. But the moment she opened her mouth, everything she had swallowed, every insult, every humiliation, spilled out. She cried until her voice broke. Silas's expression hardened, not with anger, but with a calm, icy resolve. Brianna wrapped her arms around her daughter and whispered, "You never deserved any of that. And you won't face it alone, not anymore." The next morning, Silas and Brianna visited the school. They expected responsibility, acknowledgement, even concern. But Principal Laurel Torvet gave them a tight-lipped smile and the dismissive tone of someone who had played this game before. She blamed misunderstandings, kids being kids, and unverified exaggerations. She casually mentioned that the families of Marcellus, Celia, and Holt were major donors, as if charity excused cruelty. She offered Avery a seat change, a counselor visit, maybe even an anti-bullying workshop sometime in the future. But she did not offer accountability. She did not offer justice. Silas walked out of that office with a polite nod that masked a storm. For the next week, Avery returned to school, hoping the principal's warning would stop the torment. Instead, Marcellus doubled down. He mocked her for snitching. Celia bumped into her, accidentally, in the hallway, causing Avery's water bottle to spill across her books. Holt recorded a slow, humiliating video of her cleaning the mess and uploaded it with the caption, "Clumsy charity case." Avery stopped eating breakfast. She stopped looking in mirrors. She stopped raising her hand in class. She lived in survival mode, and nobody truly saw her, not even her teachers, who chose comfort over confrontation. Then everything changed on a sunny Thursday morning. The Solbergs filed a lawsuit. Not a threat, not a warning. A full civil suit targeting Crestview Academy for negligence, the bullying students for harassment, and the families behind them for enabling and encouraging the ongoing abuse. It shook the school like an earthquake. Parents whispered. Students stared. Teachers grew tense. And for the first time, the principal looked scared. The story spread through the halls before first period even started. Avery didn't know yet. She walked into school expecting the same quiet misery. But when she reached her locker and saw Marcellus standing there, she braced herself. Except he wasn't smiling. His face was pale, jaw clenched, hands trembling at his sides. Celia and Holt stood behind him looking like ghosts. They didn't say anything. They didn't touch her. They didn't even look at her directly. For the first time, Avery saw something she thought she'd never see in their eyes: fear. By lunch, everyone knew. Teachers watched the bullying trio like hawks. Students whispered like the cafeteria had become a courtroom. And for once, nobody touched Avery's food. She sat at a table alone, uncertain, overwhelmed by the sudden vacuum where cruelty used to be. That's when it happened. A girl with curly red hair, freckles sprinkled across her cheekbones like sunlight, approached her shyly. "Hey, you can sit with me, if you want." Her name was Nessa Corbin, gentle, soft-spoken, and kind in a way that felt real. Avery hesitated. She wasn't used to kindness anymore. But she nodded, sitting across from this stranger who didn't treat her like a spectacle. Nessa talked about her dog, her art hobby, her fear of thunderstorms, and never once asked about the lawsuit. Avery felt warmth blooming in her chest for the first time in weeks. As days passed, things at school shifted. Some students started smiling at her, awkwardly but sincerely. A few apologized, not all, but enough to remind her that humanity wasn't lost here. Teachers grew more attentive. The principal forced the bullying trio and their families into mandatory meetings, legal negotiations, and consequences the school could no longer avoid. Marcellus, Celia, and Holt faced in-school suspension, mandatory counseling, community service hours, and a permanent mark on their school records. Their families, embarrassed and furious, not at the cruelty, but at the exposure, pulled strings, hired lawyers, and fought back. But the Solbergs did not waver. They fought not for vengeance, but for protection, for change, for every kid who ever ate lunch alone after someone cruel stole a piece of their dignity. Avery slowly began to heal. She started participating in class again, her voice growing stronger. She found friendships, real ones, kids like Nessa, Ronan Hale, and Mira Tate, who admired her resilience. She joined the art club, rediscovered her love for painting galaxies, and even started volunteering in the school garden, a quiet space where she felt safe. But the most powerful moment came a month later during a school-wide assembly about bullying prevention. The principal stepped up to speak, but it was Avery who surprised everyone by walking onto the stage. She had no script, no notes, just a tremor in her hands and courage in her voice. She spoke about the silent pain kids carry. She spoke about kindness, about survival, about how laughter can be a weapon and silence can be complicity. She did not name her bullies, she didn't need to. She spoke her truth with such grace that the auditorium fell silent, listening to a girl who had been overlooked until she demanded to be seen. When she finished, the applause felt like a wave of warmth washing over her, a moment she would remember for years. Her parents watched from the back row, eyes shining with pride. If this story touched your heart or reminded you of the power of courage and justice, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner, so more people can experience stories that inspire hope. And now here's a special request. Please comment, stand up for kindness, if you believe no child should ever face cruelty alone. That day, when Avery walked out of the auditorium into the daylight, the world didn't feel as heavy anymore. She wasn't the scared girl whose lunch was thrown away. She wasn't invisible. She was a survivor, a voice, a force. And for the first time since she arrived at Crestview, she felt like she truly belonged. Because kindness can be delayed, buried, or forgotten, but it always finds its way back, especially when someone brave enough lights the path.